Hi, Clint Coons here with Anderson Business Advisors, and in this segment, I'm going to cover how you move money when you're setting up a rental structure. That is, moving money between the limited liability companies. Because a lot of people ask us this question, that is, how do I get started? Where does the money flow? Who do the tenants pay? Well, I'm going to show you that right now. All right, so in most instances, the way we create our structures is we will establish a holding limited liability company for someone in Wyoming or Nevada. I'm just going to choose Wyoming here. You are the member of this holding company. Maybe you and your spouse, if you're married, you are the members in this holding company, and you're also the manager of this company. So you're both member, and you can always look in your books to see this, and you're manager. Now, the holding company is typically set up to own other LLCs that are registered in the states where your real estate is located, generally speaking. So if you had property here in Arizona, this would be an Arizona LLC, and it may have a land trust involved with a property there. Let's say you own a piece of property over here in Oregon, so this would be an Oregon LLC owning real estate, maybe again in a land trust in Oregon, just like that, and that's held down here 100%. So these LLCs, the way they're typically established is that the member of the LLC is the holding company in Wyoming, and you own that. So when we're looking at arrows, follow the arrows. This is owned there, this is owned down here. Now, what about money? So when you start off, you have cash in your own name, and we've created some boxes for you, and you want to know, what do you do with the funds? Well, first off, to fund this structure, you should take any savings you have, any investment accounts, and put that money right here. Because if you remember, this holding company in Wyoming is set up for asset protection purposes. That is, it's to hold your cash, hold your safe assets. So it's established for that one purpose, therefore you should fund it. So you need a bank account set up for this. You got to make sure you have a bank account set up in your Wyoming LLC. In fact, all LLCs need bank accounts. This one's going to need a bank account, so is that entity up there. Now, the money's here. So let's talk about funding. Let's assume that you want to create a new LLC to buy a piece of property in Texas. So we establish a Texas LLC, and it is owned by your Wyoming LLC, just like we talked about. And you go to the bank to open up a bank account to get some money into this Texas LLC, let's say to buy a piece of real estate. Well, when you open up the bank account, where does the money come from? Does it come from you down here? Or does it come from this Wyoming LLC here? Or does it come from here or here? This is entity 1, 2, 3, and 4. Well, follow the lines, all right? Follow the lines. Always follow the lines. You notice there is not a line that connects this entity to this entity. So that just takes that out of the equation. There is not a line that connects this entity to you. So we know that you're not going to put money into that LLC. The only entity that is connected to this Texas LLC is your Wyoming holding LLC. So you will move money from here into here. And that means just write a check to the name of the LLC and go in and deposit it into the account. This transfer right here is called a contribution. If you want to know how to list it in your books, you call it a contribution, moving the money into that Texas LLC. All right, that's how you fund it. And then once it's in there, then you can go out and buy your property or do whatever you're going to do from that standpoint. Now, let's look over on the other side. How about the tenants and the rents? How does that money flow? Well, I have a tenant in this property right here. If you're not using a management company, that is a company you've created to manage these properties, I'm not talking about a third-party management company, then what will happen is all rents for this property will be paid to this limited liability company. Now, if you were using a third-party management company because you live in Washington State, but the property's in Oregon and you don't have time to manage it, so you're using a company down in Oregon to handle it, it doesn't matter. It's still the same process. The money, the rental income, whether it comes from the tenant or it comes from the property management company that manages it for you, will run to the LLC. They're not going to pay you. You have to tell them, start paying all of the rents to the LLC. So the money will come into here, okay, because that's the entity that owns the property. Now, when the money comes into there, what do you do with it? Well, I'll tell you, keep a small amount in that bank account to cover some expenses, unforeseen expenses that may crop up, maybe $1,000 to $2,000. But the rest of the money above $2,000 should be distributed down to the owner of that LLC. And in my example, it's not you, it's the holding LLC. So excess rental income comes down here and gets deposited into that bank account. Now, if you want money, well, you'll know that you do not touch these entities here because the line runs only from this entity to you. So if you need money, you just take a distribution. Okay, whenever money runs down, it's called a distribution. Okay, whenever money goes up, it's called a contribution. Distribution down, contribution up. So you would take money out of here because this is your connection. You own this company in turn owns these companies. Do not move money this way. We never move money back and forth because those entities have no connection to each other. If, for instance, in this example, this entity here needs $10,000 and this entity has $10,000 inside of it, well, then what you'll need to do is take this, move the money into here, and then from there, move it up to there, to that entity, just like that. Follow the lines. This is why we impress upon you, bank with one bank, like Wells Fargo, Bank of America. Set up your accounts there because they allow you to have everything online. I was just on my Wells Fargo page today. I have 27 accounts with Wells Fargo, and I was moving money back and forth and making payments. I didn't have to write any checks, but I followed the lines. That's the way I run it. That is the way you should run it. It's really quite simple once you get a hang of it. My name's Clint Coons with Anderson Business Advisors, and in this segment, we covered how to move money between your LLCs when you're dealing with rental properties.